why was Great Expectations chosen for the cinematic treatment in this auspicious anniversary year?
Well, in some ways, very mundane. I was working on another Dickens novel, Dombey and Son, with another wonderful writer and producer. But Dombey and Son is 1,000 pages long. It's that long. And Great Expectations is 500 pages long. It's that long. And so you stand a chance of adapting it to a movie length. Now, having said that, what then is absolutely irresistible about the story is that it's based on two mysteries. Who is the benefactor whose name must not be revealed that gives Pip the money to make him a gentleman? And is Estella everything she seems? And so what's great about the screen for that is that, like a thriller, like a mystery story, you are peeling the onion the whole time, and you have one point of view from that character, you have another point of view from that character. Everything is bearing in on the same center, but from wildly different points of view. So you get this wonderful kaleidoscope of a narrative, but it works like, God help us, it works like Miss Marple.
Why was David Nicholls the right man to adapt this? Every generation deserves a new version of a classic masterpiece.
Right.
But and he indeed has adapted some classics in the past.
Yes, he has. He's done
Yeah.
Hardy, and he's and of course, well, partly what it is with him is that he is a very good writer in his own right. He writes his own fictions. You know, he writes one day, and what made him tremendous was that he was prepared to. He had this trick of using Dickens' traditions, and therefore he was writing an in-the-vein version. It didn't go out onto the periphery and say, we're going to make this in a quarry in Northumberland. It said, no, the story is the story, the time period of the story is such, and that's how we're going to do it. But what he did do was to fill it out of it, what made it contemporary. And so it's a very hot, passionate, erotic, although it's never, sadly, it's not erotic on the screen, but it's erotic in the heads of the characters. You can see that. Love story. And it's also a contemporary story because it depends on how money manipulates people and screws them up. And it's also, of course, the thing about both of the leading characters, the boy and the girl, because that's where the story really does center. It's not in the outer characters. It's the boy and the girl. They are, from an early age, each of them has been abused with the best intentions. I don't mean sexually abused, but I do, in Pip's case, mean physically abused. Pip is beaten bloody by a cruel woman who is his surrogate mother. And Estella, of course, is manipulated to within an inch of her life to believe something about herself which simply isn't true. And so in that way, they are mistreated, and they come together in misunderstanding.
And finally, Mike, I mean, one of the great joys of reading Dickens is the detailed descriptions of his characters. He says about Mr. Pumblechook, he's got a mouth like a fish, and David Walliam obliges in that regard. I wondered, to what extent did that influence some of the choices of your characters? Did they really need to look like them? And they're wonderful character
David doesn't
faces.
look like a fish.
No.
If that's how David cares to act, then I'm grateful. That's terrific. But on the other hand, there is a kind of contemporary, late 20th century naturalism, which doesn't allow what you're talking about, which doesn't allow the oddness and the eccentricity. And then there is a whole group of actors and faces and whatnot who do allow that. And for instance, Robbie Coltrane, of course, allows that. You are encouraged to think what a weird character this is, this great blob of a man. And then you find that he is the biggest, nastiest, coldest cynic that you could ever imagine. And so the trick with those characters is that you always have to turn them over and you will find something unexpected. And there's a type of actor who is suited to that. Dickens, after all, was writing about the English. One of the reasons he is so loved is the English think that he is writing about them specifically.
Well, Mike, we're going to have to leave it there. I could go on all day, but thank you so much.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. That's great.